I refused to let my stepmom walk me down the aisle, and now my dad wants to attend my wedding alone, with a confession that has changed everything. I'm Lily, 28, and I'm getting married to my fiancé, Richard, 30, in 3 months. To understand my current situation, I need to revisit my childhood. My parents, Claire, 53, and Tom, 55, met in college and married young, having me when they were both 25. For the first decade, we seemed like the perfect family. I remember weekends at the lake house where Dad taught me to fish and Mom prepared picnics. We had family game nights every Friday, and my parents took turns reading me bedtime stories. Though they had their arguments, I always felt loved and secure. Everything changed when I was 10. Dad started working late more often, and Mom seemed increasingly stressed. I overheard arguments about someone named Tanya but didn't understand what was happening. Then, one day, I came home to find Mom crying. She told me Dad was having an affair with Tanya, his co-worker, and they were getting a divorce. The next few months were a blur of tears, arguments, and confusion. Dad moved out, and I felt angry at him for hurting Mom and breaking up our family. The divorce was messy, with heated arguments about custody and property. I remember feeling lost and scared outside the courtroom. In the end, Mom got primary custody, and Dad had visitation every other weekend. Initially, I didn't want to leave Mom alone and was reluctant to spend time with Dad. Despite her own pain, Mom encouraged me to give Dad a chance, saying he made a mistake but still loved me. Gradually, I began to enjoy my weekends with Dad, going to movies, learning to cook, and having long talks about school and friends. Things got complicated again when Dad announced he was marrying Tanya. I met her properly at a dinner Dad arranged. She seemed nice enough, bringing me a journal with my name embossed on it and asking about my hobbies. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was the reason for the breakup of our family. After their marriage, Tanya made an effort to bond with me, buying gifts and suggesting mother-daughter activities, but her efforts felt forced. I felt uncomfortable around her, partly due to loyalty to my mom and partly because Tanya seemed to be trying too hard to replace Mom. As a teenager, my relationship with Dad and Tanya became strained. They made negative comments about Mom, which bothered me because I knew how hard Mom was trying to co-parent peacefully. Mom never spoke badly about Dad or Tanya in front of me. She encouraged me to give them a chance, saying it was okay to have different relationships with different people in my life. When I was 16, Tanya got pregnant, and Dad was ecstatic. His excitement made me feel like I wasn't enough for him, like I was just a remnant of his old life. Unfortunately, Tanya had a miscarriage, which was a difficult time. I felt a mix of sadness for their loss and guilty relief that I wouldn't be replaced by a new baby. Dad pressured me to support Tanya, which added to my stress as I was already dealing with typical teenage issues and the fallout from the divorce. After the miscarriage, Tanya became even more clingy, introducing me as her daughter and pressuring me to call her Mom, which I refused. This led to many arguments with Dad, who always took Tanya's side and accused me of being insensitive. Throughout this time, my relationship with Mom remained strong. She was my rock, supporting me without judgment and encouraging me to pursue my interests, leading me to study journalism in college. In college, I met Richard, and we bonded over our love for investigative reporting. His family background was much simpler than mine. His parents were happily married, and he had younger siblings. His patience and understanding helped me open up about my complicated family dynamics. As we plan our wedding, these past issues have resurfaced. I've decided to ask my mom to walk me down the aisle. She's been my constant support, role model, and best friend. When I told Dad and Tanya, Tanya burst into tears, and Dad got angry. They said I was being selfish and that Tanya deserved a special role because she's been in my life for so long. I refused, stating that my mom is my only mother and the one I want by my side. This led to a huge argument, with Dad threatening not to attend if Tanya wasn't given a special role. He mentioned all the times Tanya tried to be there for me and the gifts she bought, but to me, those things pale in comparison to the consistent love and support my mom has given me. Tanya accused me of never giving her a chance, mentioning her miscarriage again and saying how hard it had been to lose a baby and then have her stepdaughter reject her. I understand her loss was traumatic, but I don't think it's fair to use it as emotional leverage. I'm standing firm in my decision, but I'm now wondering if I'm being too harsh. Richard supports me completely, saying it's our wedding and we should do what feels right to us. Some extended family members suggest I should compromise to keep the peace. Part of me feels guilty for hurting Tanya's feelings, but a larger part feels angry that Dad and Tanya are trying to make my wedding about them. I've spent years navigating this blended family situation at the expense of my own feelings. I want my wedding day to be a celebration of love, not a battlefield for old conflicts. Am I being too harsh for refusing to let my stepmother walk me down the aisle? Should I stick to my decision or try to find a compromise?